The New York State Office of Addiction Services and Support, or OASAS, provides this podcast as a public service. Thoughts and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent or reflect those of the agency or state. This is Addiction, the Next Step.
Jerry Gretzinger here with this episode of Addiction, the Next Step, podcast brought to you by the New York State Office of Addiction Services and Supports. Thanks for being here with us. And, every episode we bring to you is about the services available that are through OASAS or the folks who say they've been in recovery for years thanks to certain supports and programs. All of that, though, has something very important in common: the amazing people who make OASAS and all the addiction workforce tick. Our guest today is just one of those terrific people, one true veteran of more than 2 decades, Arlene Arzadon. She's dedicated her career to helping those struggling with addiction at OASAS. That's over 20 years of experience, so many lives touched. She's currently a nurse for us at the Bronx Addiction Treatment Center. And Arlene, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, and so I want to start, first of all, I think maybe there's a lot of people who will be out there listening and saying, okay, she's a nurse at an addiction treatment center. What does a nurse at an addiction treatment center do? So let's start there.
All right. Well, I guess I want to talk about how I start my day before I even step into the facility. So it's different because I wake up with a sense of gratitude. And I bring that same sense of purpose, to when I come in the facility. And when I do, to me, it makes a difference. You bring that energy into the facility. Mm-hmm. And then once I step in, that's when it's never a dull moment.
Right.
So, yeah.
So walk people through a typical day. It's like your day starts,
Typical thing, we would, so for nurses, we prioritize the patient's stability, medical, psychiatric stabilization. We do a lot of medication. We do a lot of patient teaching throughout because our purpose is to change a lifestyle. That's what recovery means to us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you talk about, the patients you're working with and a change of lifestyle and such. You talked about having a sense of purpose when you get up in the morning. I mean, being able to go to work every day and know that your end result, your hoped end result, is to change someone's lifestyle for the better. I can see where that would certainly give you a sense of purpose. Over your 20 years, talk about, some of the challenges you've faced. And, the reason we're doing this too is because we want to encourage people to join this workforce, right? Because there's such a need. There's so many people who can benefit from people like yourselves and what you're providing as your services for those. But talk about the challenges you've encountered and how those have turned into, moments where you felt good about the work you do every day.
Right. I would say, just like what we said, is lifestyle changing our lifestyles. I think that's one of the primary challenges that we encounter. And it's not just anybody in the addiction. It's just anybody who wants to change a lifestyle. Maybe like losing weight, how we always talk about every year, New Year or so. But it's challenges like lifestyle changes and consistency is some primary challenges that we face here. So if a person is not ready, then that's where the process is a bit more difficult. It's more challenging. So we are very skilled. We have a really good team, and they're very skilled in helping someone to move from, just contemplating into putting things into action. So that would be one of the challenges that we face here.
Yeah. And so over the years, do you have a particular experience that you had or someone that you worked with where it was a little difficult at first, but, through your perseverance, through their investment in the process, the outcome was just exactly what you had hoped it would be?
Oh, yes. We have many, actually. We have a lot of patients that's really rewarding to us because a lot of our patients also come back and, talk about, we have an alumni or so. But, yeah, I could remember one particular person, and this person wasn't really ready. And but the person was he ended up in treatment through court system. So, but was able to see what we're offering, a different lifestyle, what services we offer, the kind of thing. So the person actually left against clinical advice, but then came back and remembered that we have a place that's safe for the person to get treatment. And by that time, the person was ready. We just got an email, and he's doing very well right now, doing peer support, going back to school, and giving back to the community. And that's just perfect.
Yeah,
but we have a lot of different stories, and we have, like I said earlier, alumni. They come back, they give back to our community. Mm-hmm. They dedicate their time and effort to us.
Yeah, and that's terrific. That's certainly the kind of results you want to hear about.
Amazing.
talk to us too. We talked about how you've been doing this for 20 years, and thank you and congratulations on that. That's a great career milestone to be at. But so, what was your background that brought you to being a nurse with OASAS at the Bronx ATC?
Okay. I think in general, just becoming a nurse. Well, I came from a long line of family who work in health field, and that's why I've always been passionate to helping other people. I hear it in my family. So growing up, but then why specifically addiction? Why specifically psychiatry? Mental health. Well, I came from I migrated here. I came from a third world country, and I've experienced and I've observed firsthand the struggles of people who have addiction, because it's in an impoverished community, and domestic violence, gambling, child abuse. So it's always been my lifelong pursuit and passion to empower, educate everybody, and I feel like that's what I would consider the truest definition of making a difference in someone's life.
And
so that was my background.
Interesting. You were just talking about the different types of people that you help out, and the different things that they're working through. And you talked about problem gambling. There's obviously substance use disorder. So, when people hear about a nurse who works at an addiction treatment center, the immediate assumption might be it's people who are trying to figure their way through substance use disorder, but it goes beyond that, as you mentioned, problem gambling also.
Absolutely, it's behavior. It's not just I'm addicted to a certain substance. Mm-hmm. It's a behavior. It's an addiction behavior. Yeah. It could be a workaholic, or it could be a shopaholic, or so yeah. It's wide array when it comes to addiction.
Yeah. And so, what do you? We talked too about how many challenges there are to people going out and seeking or receiving treatment, right? And I know you're aware of this as much as we are, and hopefully that we're raising the awareness in the communities, is that a lack of understanding sometimes as to the services that are being provided or the impact of those services can be integral to whether or not someone seeks services and can benefit from them. You experiences that as well, right?
Absolutely, yes. I would say I would put out the word stigma. Wherein a lot of people, I think there's misconception of what addiction is, or what addiction treatment is. So that sometimes hinders people from coming to treatment. That also hinders the support that we get from community or so. Family and stuff, yeah.
Talk about that. Hinders the support you get from communities.
Right. Because if it's not well supported by the community, that's there's a stigma, there's a negative connotation to you're going for mental health, or you're going for addiction treatment, and and if the community doesn't support it, then the person would feel maybe guilt or shame, or so that would hinder the person from coming to treatment.
Yeah. And, I know that's something that we see around the state. I know you work in the Bronx, in the Bronx ATC, but around the state, we see that same sort of struggle to get this kind of support that sometimes these locations really need and deserve and should be getting because of the work that's happening within those walls, right? These are people who are saying, hey, you know what, I want to get some assistance. I want to seek treatment to come on the other side of this and make a change. And it's unfortunate when we do see, communities not quite understand that and have concern or, whatever it might be. But again, that's one of the reasons we do this, right? We're talking about it because we want to increase understanding. So, when you have someone come to you and say, hey, I'm worried about having you here. I'm worried about, saying that I support this. How do you respond to them as a nurse who's done this for 20 years, knowing the work that goes on? What do you say to them?
Well, I think that I could really start assessing what's the worry? What's worrying the person? Because from there, that's where I could address what their worries are. May it be education, may it be, misconception or so, or maybe other fears that they may have. Because worry is connected to a fear. So now, if the person has more understanding of it, more education, then from there, we could work with a person. Yeah. That's where I would say.
Yeah, understanding is key, obviously, and the misunderstanding sometimes is where things kind of get, mucked up, if you will. So, I talked earlier, too, about how it's such a critical need to have more people consider coming to work in the addiction services, the addiction workforce. If someone is out there right now and is a nurse or is, in the process of getting their degree and they're not quite sure where they want to go with it, what would you say to them to encourage them to consider a line of work like you are in? Like, what is it about it that you find most rewarding that you think someone else might hear and say, you know what, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to do.
Okay. I would first say how I experienced it. I would share that. And before, when I started working in inpatient psychiatry, that's when I understood what psychiatry is, what mental health is. It's separate from the physical health, and that's how I gained so much respect for our field, for psychiatry. And then also, addiction is a branch of that, of mental health. And I would say that right now, our community is combating this addiction, the drugs. We need nurses. We need people to help, fight this fight for us, for the society. We need a better community, we need to nourish and grow a better community for the future. So especially nowadays with our younger people, or the younger generation, they need our guidance, they need our help. And that's where I would really ask, those who would, the nurses, to take a look into this field of nursing.
Yeah. And, I think it's, you're kind of saying this, but, with the young people who are looking at what they want to do and where they want to do it, this field that you are in, that we're so appreciative that you're in, it's, you're working in the solution, right? The things that we're trying to do to kind of provide people with the services and the supports they need when they need them, when they're prepared for them. And I know we are so appreciative, and we just want to make sure that we are saying to everybody, you know what? When people go into these facilities and they want treatment and they want services, support them. Understand that's what they're there for, right? And understand, too, that people like you, Arlene, you are the people who are there making that happen for them. So we want people to support you, your colleagues, and certainly, we support you a great deal and so appreciative of your 20 years and counting, right?
And counting, yes.
Hey, thank you so much for sitting down with us. Anything else you wanted to mention just about, how you put in 20 years and why you're happy to say and counting?
Oh, absolutely. I feel rewarded with this, with what I do, and I'm really grateful that I have this opportunity to do so here at OASAS, at Bronx ATC specifically. Yeah, and I'm really grateful for that, and I'm grateful for podcasts and what you do as well, so we could reach out to our community. We use the social media. And I would love to support that as well.
Yeah, well, we're very glad that you sat down and talked with us about this today. And yeah, you know what? You're making a difference. And anybody who wants to do that with their career, this is a great way to do it. Arlene, thank you so much for sitting down with us today again, and maybe we'll have you back sometime to kind of give people another update on how things are and encourage them once again to join your ranks. Everybody, thanks so much for joining us for this edition of this episode of Addiction: The Next Step. I'm Jerry Gretzinger, your host, and thanks for checking us out. We'll look forward to chatting with you again soon.